Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. If you are new, my name is Kaya. I'm a 25-year-old girl living in Austin, Texas, and I have multiple businesses, including a rental property business where I host on Airbnb. So in today's video, I wanted to take you guys through 5 things that I wish I knew about hosting on Airbnb before I actually started. These weren't things that I had necessarily found through my research online, and so I figured I would make this video and just kind of share my perspective on things that I learned along the way once I started my Airbnb hosting. So a little bit of background about my experience with Airbnb. I've been hosting on Airbnb since June-ish of 2021, so about 7 months at this point. I am a super host now, which is really exciting, and I am very hands-on with my property for the most part. I'll get into it a little bit later, but there are a lot of things that you can do to automate your listing and automate guest communication and check-in and stuff like that in order to take the daily to-dos off your hands. So the first thing that I wish I knew about hosting on Airbnb is that you will have to either outsource or pay for practically everything because you don't actually live there. So things like taking out the trash, taking out the recycling, cleaning the trash bins, because guests can be really gross and throw away just like food, like loose food in the garbage bins. So you need to clean them like every month or every 2 weeks. Things like that you will have to outsource, because if I was just living in that property like myself, like as a primary residence, I would, first of all, not throw loose food in the garbage bins. And 2, if the garbage bins were smelling or if there were flies or something, I would take care of the issue immediately. But because there's no one actually living there day to day besides the guest that checks in and out, someone will have to do that for you. So easy ways to kind of deal with that are to hire a property manager. I'm not at the stage where I'm comfortable hiring a property manager yet, because I would like to acquire more properties so that it's economies of scale. Basically, it's less expensive to have that type of person on your payroll because you have a lot of properties. At this point, because I only have 1 property, it would be very expensive, but as I get to 2, 3, 4, whatever, it becomes less expensive. So as you begin your journey on Airbnb and you start to kind of like budget out how much you think every month you're going to be spending on things like cleaning service, utilities, all of that, keep in mind that there are expenses that will pop up, such as paying someone to take the trash bins out from in the backyard to the street and then back from the street to the backyard after the trash service has picked up your trash. These aren't necessarily things that you would know straight away as you begin Airbnb. So this was definitely like a huge learning curve for me, is things would constantly break or go wrong or be neglected, and then I would have to hire people to fill in those gaps. The second thing that I wish I had known is that most guests will not bring up any issues about their stay during their stay. They would rather like silently suffer and then leave a bad review on your Airbnb listing. It was obviously super bad. Anything below 5 stars basically is not good. And I wish people kind of understood that, is that 5 stars means it was great, just as listed, accurate, no major issues. I'll give you an example. So recently a guest checked out. It's really cold in Austin right now. I had a guest check out and they messaged me after they checked out to say, hey, I think you need to get the heating system looked at. It's not working correctly. It was just constantly blowing super hot air throughout the entire night. It was very uncomfortable. I wish this guest had said something during their stay, after their first night even, because it was a very simple fix. Long story short, my property is very small, and so if the heater is running downstairs and upstairs, while upstairs is heating up, the heat from downstairs will rise upstairs and make upstairs even hotter. So to circumvent that, I added instructions to my listing to say basically, hey, like if it's cold outside and you're running the heater inside, keep downstairs at 68 at the most, otherwise upstairs will get unbearably hot. So the biggest takeaway from this thing that I wish I knew about guests leaving bad reviews instead of just like addressing issues during their stay is that you as a host have to be super on top of it. I always message my guests after their first night. In the morning, I will message them and say, hey, I hope your stay has been great so far. Let me know if there are any issues or if you have any questions. I would love to help. If it's an even longer stay than, you know, the typical 2 or 3 nights, message them again in the middle of their stay or at the end of the stay just to check in and see that everything is going well. A lot of times when you make the first effort and you check in with them, then they will be like, hey, I think the coffee pot's not working or stuff like that. There are so many things that as a host are in your control, this is one of those things that is in your control. So be super proactive about messaging your guests. This is where automations come in so handy. So I use a automation service called hospitable.com, formerly known as smartbnb. They rebranded. And basically you can create automations to message your guests at certain times, such as 18 hours after first check-in or 3 hours before check-in to send them the front door code, things like that. You can very easily automate, and what it'll do is it'll pull in information from your listing. So you can pull in information like their name, the name of the property, the address of the property. Things like the listing specific kind of automations are not necessarily helpful because I only have one property right now, but as I gain more properties and I have to manage multiple properties, this is really helpful because if I have one guest checking into my East Austin Airbnb, I can say, hey John, I'm thrilled to welcome you at da-da-da-da street in Austin, Texas. Then someone else is checking in the same day, it'll automatically send, hey Elisa, I'm so thrilled to welcome you to different street in Austin, Texas. So that's kind of why automations are really important, because if you try to handle the day-to-day messaging constantly, it becomes extremely overwhelming and things will slip through the cracks. The third thing, Airbnb is not as simple as just throwing pictures of your house up on the website. This is a business and you have to treat it as a business with a marketing plan. And this is something I like kind of had in the back of my head when I started on Airbnb, but as I got more guests and I understood more of who my target clientele is, the more I understood, okay, I need to adjust all the copy on my listing. I need to change, the pricing on my listing to reflect what type of people would stay at my Airbnb. So some basic things that'll help you determine this are obviously your location. My location of my Airbnb is very close to downtown Austin, which means I get a ton of birthday parties, bachelor parties, bachelorette parties. A lot of just like festive young people generally stay at my listing. Originally on my Airbnb, I'll give you an example, I had a lot of information about working from home. There's like a monitor in my Airbnb and stuff. So a lot of the copy on my listing was very catered towards someone who's trying to work or like a work trip while they were in Austin. However, as I started getting more bookings, I realized very quickly that these people are here to party, they're not here to work. So I started to adjust my listing copy to reflect more of like young, vibrant Austin party vibes, like go downtown, go to Six, go to Rainy, that kind of thing. And I saw bookings really increase. And that also helps to give you better reviews because people that stay at your listing, it's congruent to what their goals are of why you're staying at your property. So determining your marketing strategy is really important, and the first step to do that is to determine your target demographic. Once you have that, that will help dictate things like what kind of copy you have on your listing, even what kind of decor you have in your listing. I know someone who has an Airbnb in Austin and their listing is very catered towards bachelorette parties and like female birthday parties because the decor is very girly, it's very feminine, it's like fun, glitzy, and over the top and glamorous. Obviously, I'm sure guys stay there, but when you look at that listing as a girl, you're like, oh my God, this is so beautiful, it's so Instagrammable. So that being said, just understanding who is staying at your place will really take you miles ahead of other listings. The fourth thing that I wish I knew, that I think I already knew, but I didn't truly like deeply understand until I started on Airbnb, is that your cleaning company will determine the success of your listing. If you're cleaning yourself, I sure hope that you know what you're doing, because I tried cleaning my property by myself for the first month before my cleaning team took over, and it was horrible. It was miserable. I don't know how to clean. I don't know best practices. I don't know what best products to use. Like, I was just completely lost, and it took me hours to get it done. Not only does your cleaning company need to be really efficient and reliable, but they also need to be just like really great quality, because Airbnb guests, especially during COVID and everything, they want pristine cleanliness. That is so important. So to be honest, the cleaning company that I currently use, I'm not super happy with, because I feel like as a host, I have to constantly go in behind the cleaning team and just double check to make sure they set out the correct amount of linens, they set out the correct amount of towels, and to make sure there's no hair left on the bathroom counters or anything. Ideally, you should have a cleaning company that will restock everything, let you know when something is low in stock. They will stage your listing just like how it's photographed on Airbnb.com, and they will do a stellar job cleaning. But yeah, I know everyone knows that cleaning is a huge part of Airbnb, but I just want to reiterate, it is everything. And then the last thing I wish I knew is related to property management companies, not property managers, like individual people that you hire to help you with your listings. I'm talking about the likes of Red Awning or some of the other kind of property management companies. Don't fall into the trap of them. I personally did for 3 months, I think, and my life was made so much more complicated because of this property management company. Unless your property management company will handle all guest communication and all issues, all cleaning, everything, and you can remain completely hands off, that 10 to 20% commission that you're giving them is not worth it. These property management companies might try to seduce you by being like, oh, we have this like special algorithm that helps to determine dynamic pricing, or, you know, we will handle guest communication if there's an issue, but you still have to message them for check-in and check-out. Don't do it, because there are dynamic pricing tools like pricelabs or beyond that are really, really great and really effective, and you really just don't need a property management company. They end up taking so much commission and for like literally nothing. In my opinion, the more you can do in-house, like on your own team, the better, because you have greater control over the quality of what's going on at your property, and you just remain in control of your property, which I think is really important. So yeah, I had started with a property management company when I began on Airbnb, and I actually terminated my contract early and had to pay a very painful fee in order to terminate early. But honestly, I'm so glad that I terminated early, because now that I have all of these automations in place and my own dynamic pricing system, my life has become so much simpler versus when I was working with them. So those are 5 things that I wish I knew about Airbnb before I started hosting on Airbnb. I hope this was helpful. Even if you never own an Airbnb or you never do short-term rentals, I hope this was at least entertaining to help you guys understand kind of like what goes on in the heads of your Airbnb hosts. If you're new to my channel, I would love for you to stay and subscribe. I upload weekly vlogs kind of chronicling my journey as a self-employed girl living in Austin, Texas. I am the owner of multiple businesses, including this rental property business and then also a beauty e-commerce brand. There are huge differences between being self-employed with like a passive income like Airbnb versus a very active hands-on sort of income like having a beauty brand. So if you want to hear more about the details between that, or even hear about my career story, because I started out with a degree in chemical engineering, I worked in data science, I worked in tech, and then I quit my job and I started my beauty brand, and then I started hosting on Airbnb, and now I'm here to stay in this like short-term rental space. If you want to hear all of the fun things about being an entrepreneur as a woman, then definitely subscribe down below and let me know in the comments what kind of videos you'd like to see in the future. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye!